finger at me, but don't know why. She waited.
There's a fire beneath my skin. There's a fever that makes me ill. Gotta love, a love that kills. I got 24 hours to live. Come back. I'm down on my knees. Come back. I'm begging you, please.
Hey everybody, welcome to Shanth Enjeti Art. Long time no stream. I just wanted to pop in and say hello. Look at you guys racing to see who's first. Bless your hearts and happy early Thanksgiving. I've got Faith. What's up, Stephen Rockwood? What's up, Corey Ransom Art? How you guys doing? Good to see you. So, what do you call it? I was gonna do some sketching tonight and get back on some kind of streaming schedule here. Things have been crazy. Been working on wrapping up some new artwork for another trailer, all of that kind of stuff. What's up, Aaron? How you doing? Lord Crackhead 33, my brother from another mother. How you doing, my friend? Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yeah, every time I say happy Thanksgiving, I think of that Adam Sandler song. Yeah, just been working on different things, different layouts. Let me see if I can move this a little bit closer there. And putting things together for the book and trying to, just trying to get all of those little moments down that I've plotted out, and really kind of blown away by everyone's support, and really grateful. You know, I mean, you guys have been amazing. I was talking to my buddy today about, you know, there's so much of this work that's just sitting at the drawing board and making it happen, and some of that stuff, sometimes when you're working out a scene that's a little bit more complicated and requires your focus, that's difficult stuff for me to always stream. But yeah, I mean, I basically have been looking, you know, at, you know, certain things and certain little moments, and I kind of wanted to share with you the process of what it's like when I'm scribbling out my layout pages. And this is one that you probably saw me do or post a little bit of a process piece of on Twitter recently. So yeah, I'm just kind of introducing the characters that live in the mire and surround NOSFERO and the people that he's kind of looking after. And a lot of them, or almost all of them, are werewolves. And they don't feature too... They're kind of background characters. They don't really feature big into the story in the sense of we don't figure out too much about how they got there and all the other things I want to explore in future issues. But this is kind of this moment right after one of the pages. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, my friend. Yeah, I love... Lord Crackhead says, love seeing layouts. Yeah, it's... It's kind of interesting. It's my layouts are detailed or not based on what I'm trying to deal with. So here's the funny thing. This is something my wife fished out of the recycling bin. This was the layout page where I was kind of going with more of a terror dog look, and for Phantomas. And she was like, "Is this the layout for your double page spread?" And I said, "Oh yeah, that's it." And she's like, "What is this doing in the trash?" She's like, "You should save this." And yeah, and it's funny because sometimes I don't do my layouts as detailed, and sometimes I make them, you know, more detailed. And this is an example of the more detailed one. But there's really only one werewolf for me, guys, and that's the American Werewolf in London. Like, that's the one that I fell in love with, and that's the one that is you know, near and dear to my heart. I love The Howling. I love a lot of those movies. We've talked about it before. The underworld werewolves are pretty amazing, you know, in terms of what Patrick, I think it's, gosh, I forget his name. Is it Tatopoulos? I always pronounce his name wrong. But really amazing special effects artist did. But I love that stuff. And when I'm doing, you know, this book, one of the things that is big for me is capturing these moments. And so this is a moment that is basically the page that leads into NOSFERO telling his origin story. And those are going to be some tough pages to illustrate because I know what they are, but it's kind of I don't want to say it's wildly intense, but it's incredibly dramatic, and it shows why he is the way that he is. And in this little sequence, there's this beautiful moment that I really like where the werewolves who live out on the moors and live in the out on the mire that he lives in, essentially, where there's all these tombstones. You guys have seen it. There are werewolves living there sort of under his protection because it's the safest place these people can live, and for him it's his base of operations. And so she comes out and catches NOSFERO in the middle of prayer with his mask off, and she's kind of like, wow, what's going on with this guy? Who is this guy? And then she hears a sound behind her, and it's one of the werewolves that's crept up behind. Hey, Felix, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. And so she's kind of like, oh God, what have I got myself into? And then he appears behind her with his mask back on because she's not gonna be seeing his face anytime soon. And so in this sequence, the werewolf is basically like saying, why did you bring her here? Like, why are you bringing outside people? We don't know who this person is. We don't know what this person's about. She's got to go. And he's basically saying to the guy, one, this is my place that you guys are on, that you're under my protection, you're in my space, and don't talk that way. And in this sequence here, and these are the little things you can do. Hey, what's up, Scottsley? How you doing? These are the little things you can do when you're storytelling that you either don't put these things in, because in my case it's because I don't think of them, but there are little moments that kind of tell you who these characters are. And so as this werewolf, who's basically just said she needs to get out of here, and he says, excuse me, my house, my rules, one, and she's under my protection, so apologize to her. Right when he's delivering this comment to him, the werewolf says a kind of a weak-ass apology. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this stuff. If you've ever gotten an apology from a teenager, you know what a weak apology could be sometimes when they're annoyed with you. And gives an apology and kind of leaves the space. But this is the panel I'm most excited to illustrate right here. I feel like I just went into Corey Feldman and the Goonies right there. But you know what? What about this one? This one right here. This was my dream, my wish. And it didn't come true. But in this one, this panel right here, what I loved was, I just went into the character and I'm like, what would she do? If she's standing there in this situation, there's a werewolf, there's a guy with a mask on, but what is her quality as a character? And so what she does in this panel, sorry, Mouth, yeah, man. Mouth was probably my Goonie for a few reasons I can think of offhand. So she reaches over and takes his arm and is like, it's okay, and lowers his arm. And that shows something about this character, that her core beliefs and principles don't really change based on the situation she's in. She's a very peaceful person. She's a very hopeful person. And what's remarkable is in how we build this character. And I'm not saying he's like, oh, whatever. There's a little part of him that's kind of like, did you just like touch my sword hand? Like, what the hell are you doing? But it's kind of intriguing to him because this, other character, this werewolf that's in this situation, has basically just been advocating against her. And then he, in his sense of things, is advocating for her. But she's basically like saying, to him, that's not the way. And what I think is important for people to bear in mind when I'm writing this stuff is that, the reason why it's not the way in her mind is because she's just been watching him pray. And she's got that part of her, and he doesn't really much think about it. I mean, he's praying, but it's an interesting aspect of this character that we're going to learn about. He's trying to be the best person he knows how to be, but he's been through hell, and he's tough. It's like, try to imagine what it'd be like if you caught the Punisher praying. You wouldn't know whether to think it was a good thing or whether things were about to kick off. Like whether it's that scene in, the first Blade movie after Whistler gets killed and Wesley Snipes meditates, you're like, he's going to go kill some vampires. basically like that. You know, hey Jeremy, how you doing? Hail, brother. And so for me, the fact that she was, you know, that she's reaching over and lowering his sword, and that it's almost he's just puzzled by it. That's not something that exists in his world, and he's probably, you know, he's not the kind of person who's used to somebody coming into his space without taking him out. And I just loved that moment for her. And every single page, what I'm trying to do is, and it's hard to describe, but when I sit down to do these paintings, you guys know the drill. You know, you guys have seen me do so many of these streams. You've seen me do this work. Every single piece of artwork I do, I'm going to put, you know, my soul into, for lack of a better way of putting it, and probably the best way I can put it. But I'm, going to put my discipline and my work ethic in there too. It's not just, how am I feeling today? It's doing the work, and it's putting the stuff out there. But the thing is that what I want for you guys is to have, artwork in your home, and have work in your home. Whatever you're getting from everybody who's, involved in CG, I want you to feel like you're getting something that maybe you couldn't get anywhere else, in terms of it being new and not in, old stories, but also things that are not just wholesale cynical and nihilistic. And that's what she brings to it for me. That's what this character is the opportunity for, because the world that she's living in and the world that he's living in kind of need to come together. She doesn't have a perfect view of the world. She has a good view of the world, but she's also a little bit, immature. And, she's idealistic, young, but she's not, what's the word I'm looking for? She hasn't been tested. I mean, she's been tested in terms of what she's willing to sacrifice. And one of the things we're going to learn about this character is such a pure and, what's the word I'm looking for? Unspoiled, in its truest sense, young woman, that she is willing to lose her life, for the sake of living a peaceful life and being a good human being. And she's willing to, at least in this case, she's, in many cases, she's sort of sees that the putting the sword down is the most sort of purest way of her expressing what being good is. And what I always say in a story like this, and I don't know if it's going to happen in this story exactly, because I know what's going to happen, but I don't know the exact staging yet in terms of him. But I can tell you right now that for me, storytelling-wise, the thing that interests me the most, the thing that I'm excited about the most, is taking a character who will tell you, put down your sword, and getting that character, for purely noble, good reasons, to have to do the thing that's hardest in the world for them, which is to pick up a sword and use it to defend good. Just like it's interesting to me to have a character who will not put the sword down and has not put the sword down, and have that character be the one who puts the sword down. Because there's no drama in the opposite. There's no drama in a merciless character being merciless. That makes sense. And there's no drama in a character that's filled with mercy, feeling mercy. What's the point there? And how do they process that? And for both of them to expand, they have to understand, they have to become more well-rounded as characters. And there's evil in this world, in the story, and obviously there's evil in the real world. And you have to think to yourself, how do I practice, my nobility, or my view of the world, or not even view of the world, that's a weird way of putting it. How do I practice trying to be the best human being that I can be in a way that actually challenges me? And so for me, that's kind of that's the real kind of test, and the things I like in stories, which is, characters, we establish what a character is. Yeah, but do you know what I'm saying, though? It's like, it's like a lot of people don't realize this stuff, but this is the great genius of Richard Attenborough when he made the movie Gandhi. people don't realize this, that, Gandhi went to British law school, and his first encounter with resistance and trying his theories out was in South Africa, which a lot of people don't know because there's a huge Indian population down there. But the thing that he used at every single step, outside of things he learned from the Christian Bible and certain nonviolence ideas that he had, but what he learned from British law, he used British law he understood what the rules were and how to work in them. So imagine that. That's the compelling thing. An Indian who's using British law, like a non-violent person going up against a violent, going against violent people on both sides. In that case, he was not killed by a British person, as I always like to point out to people. And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with your own people? And how do you move that stuff forward? And so when I look at characters, like, to me, the werewolf in these stories, these werewolves are not evil. They have a noble aspect to themselves. They are they're so I'm really interested in getting into the werewolf aspect of these things a little bit. But so how many of you guys, just let me know in the chat. You can put a 1 in the chat, all right? How many of you guys have seen Snow White? How many of you guys have seen Snow White? The original Snow White, by the way. The Walt Disney Snow White, not the original Snow White, but the original Walt Disney animated film. Let me have a 1 in the chat if you've seen it. Because if no one's seen it, then this probably is going to fall on deaf ears. This won't make any sense. So I'll leave this issue. Let it lie as it's meant to. And let me see here. I love looks exchanged between characters. It's one of my favorite things to illustrate. 1 a long time ago. Very good. Yeah, Walt Disney, nice. 2 1s. That's good. That's absolutely great. Anyone else? It's been a while. Listen, folks, let me talk to you about this real quick. All right, let me get off on a short tangent as I illustrate this stuff, guys. Walt Disney's Walt Disney's Snow White is one of the most important American films ever made. It is so worth a watch in the best, highest resolution you can. It is a masterful work of art, and if you want to see something before you watch it, if I can make a recommendation, there's an American Masters PBS documentary on Walt Disney that is one of the most brilliant. It's a 2-part long documentary about who this guy actually was, or certain aspects of it. They missed like 1 or 2 things, but it's so great to see. But anyway, you've got these Lloyd. Excellent, good to see you, Lloyd. I've been thinking nonstop about the Bride of Frankenstein piece, like constantly in my head. It's great to see you, my friend. Yeah, those old Disney movies. Pinocchio is the most terrifying movie I've ever seen to this day, and it is a masterpiece. It's brilliant. I love the character design. I love everything. I love Gustav Tenggren's artwork in it. Just brilliant stuff. So here's the thing. You've got, most of you guys probably know, you got 7 dwarves. You've got 7 dwarves. You've got Dopey, who's in love with Snow White. Doc, who's really in love with Snow White. You've got, Sneezy, who's just sneezing. I mean, they all like Snow White, but Sneezy's got a lot of issues here. Let's see, who else am I missing here? You've got Sleepy, Sneezy, Doc, Bashful, who's just absolutely terrified to have to, be around Snow White. So you got all these different dwarves. And then you got one person who Walt Disney described as, this is Grumpy, the woman hater. Do you guys, hey, what's up, Replicator? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Yeah, Jesus. Oh my God. You're making this chat blue, man. But I respect that about you. I respect that. So you got all these people, and you got Grumpy, who's the woman hater. And Walt described him as that. He's a woman hater. He's like, I don't like this woman. Witchy wows. Da-da-da-da-da. So then she, as you may or may not know, spoiler alert, catch up. This was like in the 30s here, people. You see her. She bites this poison apple, and they think she's dead for all intents and purposes, right? They think she's absolutely, that's right. They think she's dead for all intents and purposes. And so now we're going to show them reacting to her death. All of them. They got tears coming down their face. But what's interesting is that while Dopey sobs into Doc's arms, the only one of them utterly breaks down. Like, utterly just completely comes apart. So who do we choose to completely come apart when this happens to her? Who do we choose? How many of you guys know this one? Who is the logical person to choose story-wise? I mean, you all probably know it. Probably telling you something you already know. But it's important. It's one of the most important things in the world. Grumpy. Of course it's Grumpy. Of course. Slowest to warm to her. Finally lets her give him a kiss and then walks into a tree and embarrasses himself. Right? And then he's the one who's like, oh God, the witch is there. We gotta go. We gotta get there. Oh my God, like the only time I've ever believed in anything, opened my heart to anything, is that freaking kid. She's so good. She's so nice. She sees the best things in me, even though I'm a wretched, piece of work here. But I want to believe. And then he comes home and she's dead. That is who you break. That's who you crush. And for me, if all of these characters have their equivalent inside of Snow White, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. You see this werewolf right here? I want you to get yourself out of American Werewolf, get yourself out of The Howling and all that stuff, even though those are amazing movies. Love Rob Bottin's special effects work and love Rick Baker. Much love, Rick Baker. This right here, this werewolf, this is my Grumpy. This is the guy I gotta break. And this is my Snow White. Snow White with, a few stabbings and some violent action, but there's a reason why I'm enjoying doing this in watercolor and gouache. It's because Disney feature films are awesome. And I'm always thinking about what the symbolism is. So here is this character here, and she gets him to put his sword hand down. So what's the next composition that I've got to do? Gosh, watch that scene where Grumpy breaks for me, guys. That movie is like a painting that moves. It's that and Sleeping Beauty, Pinocchio. They're all great, but Snow White and Sleeping Beauty with the Ivan Earl backgrounds are magic. If you feel like your soul is dead at any point, and I know a lot of people who do, who feel really down and depressed, take a ride on Walt Disney's most incredible work of art ever. It's just mind-bendingly good. And the artistry in it, it was just like a storybook come to life. He raised the bar, and for me, he's the bar that every American artist, I think even, I just realized, I think Ethan's even said this once or twice, but he's the bar for American ingenuity. And the work that he did with Ub Iwerks and Mary Blair and all the incredible talent, Tyrus Wong, that he was able to bring together, have stood the test of time. And it's rough to watch certain things happening with his legacy, but let's not dwell on that. We do have his legacy. We do know what his works were. And we don't have to let all that other stuff be there. So I've got this couple, right? I've got these people who are interacting in this narrative here, right? This is what we're dealing with. And she says, no, a little bit of a Bible reference there. Put down your sword. Put down your sword. It's okay. Like, that's not who I am. I don't want anybody to kill anybody. Again, a noble idea, but unlike Snow White, she may have to pivot off of that a little bit to save the goodness, right? This was the first. Yeah. Oh my God, so good. So good. Snow White is a work of genius, and I didn't even understand how brilliant it was. The older I get and the more I look at it, the better it gets. It doesn't get worse. It gets more like, how did they do that? What artistry? What brilliant stuff? That's what I want to see. So of course, when I'm planning and picking my shots, right, for this, and I sort of said that like boxing because I love boxing. Not doing it myself. I'm awful at it, but I do love the sport. It's my favorite sport in the world. It's a simple sport. Get rid of the ball and just hands, and that's it. Go to work. But of course, when I'm designing this shot, she says, "Put down your sword," and then he's like, "Why the hell do you why? By what, like, or like, what the hell are you doing? In a sense." And of course, she's like, "This is what you were just focused on. right here, and that's the framing of the shot. He's trying to understand the peaceful way, and I actually had this joke in my head where I was thinking it would be great if she asked him, what are you praying for? Like, I saw you praying, what are you praying for? And for him to answer, to have the ability to, destroy and crush all my enemies. Like the Conan response. What do you pray for? Murder. Like, this guy is really struggling. He wants to kill his way to goodness. It's not a the road to the road to revenge, or if you start down the path of revenge, dig two graves kind of thing. But it's bigger than that. It's all he's known, and he cannot conceive, and he's right in a lot of ways, of a force that will be strong enough to take out these bad people. He's like, they've crushed good people. They've destroyed good people. What world are you living in? I happen to believe in and embrace very much, the teachings of Gandhi, the teachings of Christ. Those things are very important to me. But it's not lost on me the fact that, I believe it was a Hindu fundamentalist. At the end of the day, Gandhi was brought down by a gun. Now, his works live on. But you take the gun out of that world, and everything he was risking all the way up until that point, there's not really a risk. And right now, she sees peace because she's willing to let herself go. But those attachments to people that we form when we fall in love, for example, or in the case of Frankenstein's monster and the bride, when we search for love because we are living in a world without it, those connections, we all can imagine, right, if NOSFERO was grumpy, we can all imagine, like, him being moved to go, oh my God, it's like, I need to be a better person. But I want you to picture what would happen if, Snow White, picked up an axe because somebody, tried to kill Grumpy. Like, what? It's kind of what it's about, This guy is, sometimes you can't imagine yourself doing something for yourself, but you imagine your kids or your wife or the people you love in danger, and you can imagine things you would do to protect them. And that you almost can't bear the thought of things happening to them. Well, he's past that point. He's past the point of seeing so many things he cares about himself, his whole view of the world shattered, that he hasn't reconnected with that. And she's never had that bond yet, not in a mature fashion. So here you go. And those are the things I think about a lot when I'm illustrating this stuff. That's what I'm thinking about. And that's sort of the heart of the next couple pages of this book, which is going into the origin story. But it starts out with this page that I know you guys know. It starts out with these moments, these watercolor moments. I worked really hard on this. There's a bit of Grumpy in all of us, and here's the funny thing about it, right? Who are some of our favorite Disney characters? This is a sign that when you're, and not even Disney, obviously, from other books, but popularized by Disney versions of characters. We've got Grumpy and we've got Eeyore. We love those guys. Everybody's like, you're either a Tigger or you're an Eeyore, to quote Randy Pausch in his wonderful last lecture. And I think that's incredibly accurate. But look at this. The hardest thing for me in this panel is not slicing a vampire in half, right? It's, painting, as Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade has taught us, painting the penitent man. Painting a guy who is humble in this scenario. Because it's got to be the same guy that we're dealing with here. It's the same guy. These aren't different characters. These characters are, one and the same. He's a tough guy. And so that's been the thing that when I'm sitting around and I'm looking at this work and I'm going, all right, well, what is it that I need to do with this character? I've got to have him sort of get some hope back into his life, and I've got to get her to take this idea, this human idea of the concept of love. And I think C.S. Lewis had a really great experience with love, which is he talked about the idea of love, but he had never really been romantically in love till later in life. I mean, a little bit with what was his name? Mrs. Moore during his college years, but not really like he was with Joy Gresham. And love as an abstract concept is very different, at least in terms of how I'm writing it. And horror in an abstract concept is very, very different than what we think about it. You know, hey, Sumo Thori's in the house. Good to see you. Yeah, hail chat and hail Sumo Thori. Yeah, right on, Jeremy. You're right on. Hail Sumo Thori. So I always tell people this, is that the reason why I like zombie movies, how's that for a segue? The reason why I like zombie movies in small towns and in more intimate settings like Night of the Living Dead, of course, the first and I think one of the finest zombie movies, is because of the possibility that you're going to see somebody that you know. That's huge. That's a really big part of what makes those movies work and what makes it so terrifying. So I always say when I'm writing or I'm thinking about writing, if there's a mob of zombies outside the door, right, and you and I, or all of us, are in a room, and there are zombies that are right there and trying to get in the door, and I'm holding the door for dear life. I'm like, oh no, these zombies aren't getting in, and you guys are getting prepared because what if they break through? What if they breach through and they get to us? And I'm holding the door. That's no drama. I don't want to be eaten by zombies. You don't want to be eaten by zombies. We're good to go. So now let's change the narrative a little bit. I'm holding the door, and it's like reinforced wood or glass or whatever. So there's a little bit you can see through, just a little bit of glass. And all of a sudden, the zombie horde stops pounding on the door. They stop pounding on the door, and they slowly look at each other and kind of part ways. They part ways. It's like, oh, they're starting to go away. They're starting to leave. We're what the hell is this about? And then all of a sudden you see, right at the end of where they've parted, you see my 5-year-old daughter who was just killed by the zombies a little while ago. And she comes up and she's knocking on the door and she's saying something my daughter used to say because they would get you and I confused. She's tapping on the door and she's saying, Daddy, Daddy, pick you up. Pick you up. There's my little girl as a zombie. How sure are you that I'm not going to open that door? You might be thinking, and it might be wise to think, we're going to have to kill Shanth. That's the drama for me. That's what makes these stories what they are. And so when I'm writing, I'm always thinking of those setups, those things that are going to make the story all that much more intense, all that much more moving to the audience. And so that's the thing that I'm always thinking about as a story that's going to be meaningful to the audience, and it's going to take them through that environment in a believable way, and in a way that feels true to their humanity. Because I think one of the most important things that we can do when, and I don't know how important it is, but it's probably one of the it might be important, I don't know, it was important for me, is to make artwork that connects people to being alive and to that experience of being alive. You know, that you know, Joseph Campbell always said that, you know, that whole idea of, all right, you know, I'm going to make artwork that you see and you go, oh my gosh, you know, I remember being in love. I remember meeting that person. I would do anything for this particular person in my life. I remember scary movies and being scared, but kind of liking monsters and being interested in them. Like all that stuff, all of these things, these very important things that we do, that's what it's about, you know? And it's I want us to be doing really cool stuff like that. Like I watch too many of Ethan's streams sometimes, I think, because I accidentally, and don't say it in the chat, like I don't want it to be spoiled any more than it already is. But I was watching one of Ethan's streams where he accidentally let a huge spoiler slip, and I know you guys know it, but please do not type it in the chat. Let's not get it out there. But he let this big spoiler slip on his stream, and it's one of those things that you go, oh no, like not that he let it slip, but it is what it is. It was kind of a bummer. And I remember thinking to myself, when he did that, I go, it's only a bummer because of it's none of it's real. It's all fiction. And that's what gives, artwork its meaning. That's what gives it its sense of life and verve and all of those things that we're interested in as readers. And I've seen so many opportunities in storytelling to do things that are going to give people that that sense of what it's all about. And if I can make that stuff happen, that's what this is about for me. And so what I'm going to do now, because I've got this layout pretty well figured, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out a sketch I've been doing just to kind of sharpen my skills, and I kind of need to play around with this thing a little bit. But this right here is a sketch. Oh, thanks. This right here is a thank you, Sumo. I appreciate that. You guys are so great. So this right here is a sketch that I was doing the other day after I was on Phil Diaz's show, and we were talking about stories and pulp and all that kind of stuff. So this is Phil Diaz's character. It's a rendition of Phil Diaz's character, and the character is called The Masquerade, for those of you guys who know the character well from Lost Pages. And the character really struck me because it sort of ticked off a lot of wait, this one right here or the last one? Sorry, Sumo, I missed that bit. You said, Sumo Thori says, are these just prelims? If you mean the layout page I was just working on, that's a prelim. This is kind of just a sketch. I don't know what I would call this. This is just me working out. When someone draws a character or creates a character, I kind of have to. I can't think about the character until let me just zoom in a little bit here, until I get into the kind of headspace of the character, so to speak, and so and get into the headspace of the creator. And so in this case right here, I came up with this thing, and for all I know, it's already in the story. But for me, it was something that really kind of intrigued me, because I paint and I think while I paint. Like I really think on paper. Like I don't mean like I think while I paint. Obviously, I've got to put some thought into this stuff, but I work things out as I paint and sketch. So I guess this is kind of more of a sketch in some ways because I'm working things out. And I had this idea. This character is, kind of, he's an actor and he's very dramatic and interesting. And, there's the idea of those and the use of those theater masks. And he's got this mask, and then there are all these masks on all of the various things that he wears. And so I started thinking about this, and there's a mask or there's a face on his sword. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, what could be cool is if I took the sword and I took the mask, and I had the mask be a like more of the kind of laughing, happier face, and then on the sword, I took the face that's on the sword, and I made that be the sad theater mask, almost like a little bit of a Two-Face type thing, where Two-Face has got the scarred half of the coin, and then he's got the regular half of the coin, and he flips the coin to see what you're getting. In this case, I thought it would be awesome if the sword was kind of like, there's my happy face, and then if you make me sad, this guy's going to talk to you. And that really interested me as far as a way into this character. So coming up with things like that is really important to me, because I always think about, I try to put in as much thought into people's characters as I do into my own, in terms of trying to get that immaculate reality there, and trying to make it believable. And every time somebody works on a character, or every time, like when I did the Cyberfrog piece, one of the things that's really tricky to do, and Ethan talks about it with regards to other characters, is when he commissions you to do artwork, he wants to see, one, something good, which can sometimes be a struggle for me anyway. And what he wants to do is he wants to see something good, and he wants to see something that he couldn't do, that's your take on it. And so it's both an incredible, honor and privilege to do that kind of thing, and there's a high bar for it. But, I think with Cyberfrog, it was really stressful in that sense, or in a good way, because I've seen Jay Lee, I've seen, now God, thank God I hadn't seen Dale Keown yet, but I've certainly seen Ethan draw Cyberfrog, Salamandroid, and Heather. And when you have a lot of respect for, artists working on a character, on a project, it's hard and it's easy to get kind of intimidated with, like, well, what am I going to bring to the table here? And I feel pretty comfortable with what I did. But the thing about it is that I really want it to be something great. I want it to be something that's inspiring. And so with regard to Phil, we had some conversations sort of on his show and sort of behind the scenes. And, behind the scenes, which is to say, just, before the show started and on Twitter. But we'd had some conversations about it, and we have some very, almost like eerily similar passions for pulp and for storytelling and that kind of thing. And when you feel like you're kind of a kindred spirit with somebody, it's I don't know, I don't know, you just kind of, you get inspired, you start getting ideas of things that you want to do. And I meant what I sort of said today on Twitter about the whole that the sort of fellowship that I feel between us all as creators. And I know everything is, things aren't just simple, and again, that's not how I live my life. But to me, it really means a lot. And so when someone shares their passion for pulp or their passion for things I care about, it's easy to get inspired about their characters. And so my idea for this was, I liked the idea of, having a mask-sized rapier hand shield. I forget what that part of the sword is called. Of the face, where it's kind of like, you mess with this guy and it's like, now I'm going to go to work. And it was just, once I put that in my head, then the sort of the drama of, the cape. I also had this idea that I rather liked, that he's so badass, he's such a great fighter, that he puts his hand, like, almost like a classical fencing kind of thing. He puts his left hand behind his back, while he's fighting you. Like, I'm going to do this one-handed. Like, I don't need this hand engaged. I've only got one sword here, so bring the thunder. And yeah, obviously you can take it out, but it's it was just a fun idea, and it was a fun visual for me to play with, the idea of this kind of deadly kind of gentleman with a little bit of shadow. The other kind of change I made, which again, I just do these things because it's a brainstorm sketch. It wasn't it's not like it was it's a commission or anything like that. It's just me working things out in my sketchbook. And yeah, I always say this too. Whenever you guys see me working on something like this, and I keep thinking of what the best way is to do this, but things like the for those of you guys who have my Twitter or whatever, things like the sketch I did of Dan Fraga's character from Black Flag, the painting I did of can't believe I'm blanking on her name, Lily from, oh my God, I'm so tired, Lily from Graveyard Shift. I have a whole stack of Graveyard Shift books next to me, but Lily from Graveyard Shift, and this, all of these things, if you want to get in touch with me, if you're interested in buying them, just get in touch with me on Twitter, and I'll let you know what we typically do. But if you know my head sketch price, you have a pretty good idea of what I typically charge for things. But yeah, but this is just a me working it out sketch. And so one of the changes I made on this sketch, that's like basically me going off script, so to speak, outside of the sad face on the hand, was the idea of taking the eye area on this mask and having it just be straight gold. So there's no white eyes inside of the mask or anything like that. I just thought, how creepy would it be if not only you can't see the eyes because they're white, but they're just like just a creepy gold reflection. And so that's been the thing that I'm working on for this story, is kind of trying to put that whole creepy solid gold face. And Phil and I both seem to have an appreciation for gold. But putting that solid gold face on there, to me, just seemed really kind of creepy. It's like, seeing someone like, a character like V for Vendetta or something and saying, I'll see you and I raise you. Do you know what I'm saying? And I love that idea. Like, I love the idea of taking things, like, he's got all these great influences. Like, in his case, it's the shadow, and it's pulp, pulp adventure characters from this particular time period. So I love that. And it really is kind of it's its own thing. But I like the idea of thinking about what's out there and going, all right, this is gonna blow everything out there away. Like that's the goal. And actually, I love the artwork I have on my desktop as references from the artist who illustrated the character, and it was really cool stuff. It's great stuff. I like seeing. I mean, I love other artists' work. It's one of my favorite things in the world is seeing other artists' work. That goes for everybody. Stephen Rockwood, when you post stuff up or you show your process, it's always great to see. I love art so much. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It's been the one huge constant in my life, and it's I put everything into it. Put everything I can put into it that I don't put into my family, obviously. There we go. So it's starting to come together. Hey, what's up, Southbound? Good to see you. Yeah, the masquerade. Yeah, I love the whole idea of this character. I think that that Phil and his brother Brandon are doing some really, really cool stuff, and they're both really prolific in terms of they're always trying to get different things going, and I like that. I really enjoy when people are motivated in their work, and they're great. And I'm looking forward to doing the head sketch inside of Phil's book, because he backed NOSFERO. He actually gave me some really good advice about adding some add-on tiers for head sketches if you want to buy the 2 art books, which was a very, very great bit of advice. Again, that just sort of speaks to the fellowship that we've been talking about, and then I was talking about when I said Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. So it's good to see you. By the way, Southbound, since you're here, let me make sure that I say Happy Thanksgiving, my friend, wherever you are. Wishing you the best. So let me see here. So yeah, just bringing the hat around, things like this. And so for me, what my plan is going forward, and and I know I talked a lot about the story at the start of the stream as I was going over the layout pages. So anybody catching this late, make sure you go back and check that out, because I do think that stuff is some of the stuff that I really love to share with you guys who've backed the book and supported me, and in doing so, of course, they're supporting my family in the sense of this is a family venture. You don't do anything without your team, being involved in it. But I'll tell you this, guys, I really appreciate all of you guys coming in here, checking out the work, looking at these characters. Go back some Comicsgate books and all that great stuff. Go enjoy some Comicsgate books. I think sometimes we back a lot of books. Make sure if you've got some downtime, you're going and reading those books and enjoying them, because I think that's a really great part of this whole comic book thing we do is, the joy of looking at the books that we do. But I'm wishing everybody a great break, or if you've got a break, hopefully you do. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving in your neck of the woods around, wherever you are in the world, if it's not a holiday for you, go do something nice for yourself. Seriously, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate your support. And so yeah, this is the whole thing from when you guys see my rough layout pages of like how I put these things together, and I work out what the story is going to be depending on how complicated that aspect of the story is, to when I'm doing more finished sketches. Ultimately, this is what it's about. It's about making something that is aesthetic and something that's going to inspire you. Sometimes using a little bit of gold paint, as you can see here. That's gold, which I don't know how many of you guys could tell that before, but oh, you had Thanksgiving last month. That's right. You must be in Canada, right? Am I correct on that? Let me know, Scottsley. And happy belated Thanksgiving, if that's the case. But yeah, we were talking about, gold printing on another project they're doing, and I was just thinking, you can use gold pigments and get some really crazy effects there on a character. So yeah, this is me using gold gouache, which is like it's an opaque watercolor. But This is what it is, Ontario. Excellent. Yeah. So your museum is how I was able to see the Guillermo del Toro exhibit, which was the Ontario Gallery of Art, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we came up to Toronto to check that out and had a great time up there, and ate very well. Very good food up there. So yeah. Oh, thanks so much, Scottsley. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, guys. So here's my favor for the evening. One of my many brothers, as you know, is having a stream later. I think that both Michael and Rob are having a stream later. So go check that stuff out. Go jump onto some Comicsgate streams. If anybody knows of a Comicsgate stream that's happening right now, if you're a mod, pop it in the chat. But I just want to say to you guys, if you are having Thanksgiving tomorrow, have a great Thanksgiving. And if you've already had it, I hope you had a great one. You deserve it. I'm thankful for you guys and your support of this project, and you guys continuing to get the word out, checking out the YouTube channel, all of it. So take care of yourselves. Be inspired. Oh, Michael's streaming right now. Okay, guys, Michael's streaming right now. So go over there and check out Michael's stream. He's the man. And I will talk to you guys soon. So take care and tell him I said hello. I'll probably be over there in the chat soon. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon. All right, everybody. So peace and have a very, very good one. Yes, hail, everybody. Much love. And this is for the Crack Pack. As always, hopefully it'll play. Let's see if it works. Nope, can't find the file. Dang it. All right, how many of these files are gone now? Uh-oh. Looks like all of my files are...
Once you think they're at me, 'cause I know why.